age of self-expression. The golden age of self-expression is a celebration. Whether we speak, whether we sing, whether we scribble our ideas on a piece of paper, whether we dance, draw, or doodle. Whatever we do, there's a platform out there for us to send our ideas far and wide. And the best part is, we don't have to ask anybody for permission. Today we have two fantastic guests, Bett and Steve Bullhofer. Bett is a blogger, a speaker, a software leader, and the immediate past director of District 57 Toastmasters in Northern California. Steve is a violinist and an Alexander Technique teacher. Bett and Steve, welcome to the golden age of self-expression.
Hey, Steve, thanks for having us. We're so excited to be here.
Oh, I'm glad you're both here. This is going to be a great conversation. But as we get started, the first thing I want to ask you is how you're doing. It's been a crazy year and a half. What are you both doing to stay happy and healthy during these crazy times?
Well, when there was a lot of cancellations and all my music gigs, I would see on my calendar pop up month by month, and they were all be canceled. It was kind of depressing. But we started going on hikes like almost every day, like really long hikes. So I think during the shutdown, like that's how I stayed really happy and healthy. What do you think, Bett?
I love everything you just said. And I would add to that, we actually found two little kittens on July 3rd of 2020. And this was just as cabin fever had hit its highest, because we knew every single secret of each other's lives. There was no moments I was working from home. We were just together all the time. And anyone who's married out there, lives with a roommate even, they just know that feeling of like, oh my gosh. And we found these little kittens and we bottle fed them every 3 hours. And that was just amazing because it brought so much randomness. The life was just way too systematic and too routine. And those kittens just mixed us up. And they have been such a joy. And they just turned 1 recently.
I've seen those kittens on Instagram. It's Hansel and Gretel, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, I've got another question for both of you. What does self-expression mean to both of you?
Self-expression. You know, self-expression is a hard one. I think for me, the hardest part is being myself. So to express myself, I have to be myself. And I think the biggest issues I've faced in my life are social anxiety, worrying about what people think of me, and worrying about if what I'm doing is okay. But these days, I think self-expression means embracing how I feel and then when embracing myself, and whether I'm playing music or doing Alexander Technique or one of the other activities I do, it's not worrying about what other people are considering, not being self-conscious about what I'm doing, and being free to be how I feel in that moment. I think that's what self-expression means to me right now.
Yeah. Now, did you take on self-expression or did you explore it to defeat your social anxiety?
I don't think so. I think I defeated my social anxiety because I had such a desire for self-expression,
okay.
Like ever since I was a kid. So when I was 3, I heard my mom play Four Seasons by Vivaldi on our stereo in our house, and it just stuck with me. And I wanted to be able to express like the people, like the artists I was hearing express. And I think if I didn't have that drive to learn how to self-express, I probably still wouldn't have overcome my social anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right,
How about you?
I let Steve answer first because I think we have slightly different ways of thinking about this. So I am an extrovert, and pretty much I've always been an extrovert. The thing about me is not about self-expressing. I have no problem self-expressing. The problem I have is that no one understands what I'm talking about. So for me, my journey has been to learn how to take all of my insane ideas that I have, like I have ideas about everything, how to fix every problem in the world. I have an idea for it. How to take that, narrow it down, give it to people in ways that they can just understand and stay focused on one problem at a time versus, fixing every world economic social problem. So that's my thing, is just really focusing in and trying to figure out the best way, stories, for instance, telling narratives, bringing emotions in. I do painting. This is my painting behind me, right? Like doing color, just finding new ways of communicating is the thing that I'm trying to focus on, is like, how can I express the exact thing I'm trying to think for the intended thing that I'm trying to get to done in the world. So that's where self-expression has kind of come from in my life.
You said an interesting thing. You talked about the big ideas you have and narrowing them down. And I know you as a leader in Toastmasters, and one of the things you said in presentations you made is you encouraged us, when we have an idea, to present it in a way the person getting the idea buys in, and they actually, I guess what's the right way to say it? They actually ask you for what you're thinking, or it's almost like it's their idea when you get finished talking with them.
Yeah, actually, one of the things that I really figured out that works best in leadership is just tell the problem. Just say, this river is polluted, right? Whatever is going on. And then let the people the stakeholders, as we call them in business, basically the people who have skin in the game, let them, empower them, unblock them, enable them to come up with the solutions, and working together, they can solve the problem. Because if I come in there with a detailed step-by-step plan, they're going to know why it's not going to work, because they're smarter than me, and they're not going to like to do it because it's my idea. So that's one big thing I've discovered is, yeah, I may have my notebook full of all the solutions to all the world's problems, but no one cares about that. It's better for me to help energize people to say hey, this is a problem. How can we work together to solve it?
Right. Interesting. All right. Good. Now you also, this question is for Bett, you have a space on your website on what brings you joy. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh boy, I actually wrote that a few months ago. So I would just go to what I'll say right now brings me joy. I've been doing yoga every day for 98 days straight.
98 days. Okay.
Yes. And I've been taking videos and putting on Reels, which is like an Instagram version of TikTok. And I'm having a lot of fun self-expressing through that format of movement, because movement is very important to me. And yoga is such a great organized movement that has been developed centuries ago. So being able to tap into that and using my body to express the energy of the universe is really, really beautiful. And it brings me so much joy. And doing it 97 days straight has been really mind-blowing for me. I've learned so much. And I can do so much more self-expression, right? Because I can move, I'm stronger, I'm more flexible than I was before that. So that's what brings me joy right now.
Yeah. Okay, great. What brings you joy, Steve?
Joy, I think physical movement and doing physical activities, whether it be technical activities like rock climbing or playing an instrument, or even just exercise, the bliss of when I've had a cup of coffee in the morning and I'm feeling the caffeine high, and I go and do yoga and then rock climb, and that physical bliss and presence I felt like lying on the mat in the gym and stretching out and stuff. And I'm just overwhelmed by all the sensations and all the feelings. I think that's probably the most epitomized joy I felt recently.
Okay, good. Now, the two of you met swing dancing. Am I correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Can you talk a little bit about that and the different kind of dancing you do?
I started off doing salsa, and it just wasn't exactly the right thing for me, although it was lots and lots of fun. And then some of my friends dragged me to swing dancing. It's really funny. And I think everyone needs to remember this. I was maybe 27 or 28 when I first went swing dancing. And when they invited me to go, I said, I don't need any more hobbies. I said, I don't need to have anything else in my life. I'm perfectly happy. And they had to twist my arm to go to that dance that night. And I was addicted after that night. And I've met so many great people across the world. I've danced in many countries, including Czech Republic, South Korea, Sweden, and probably some other countries I can't remember right now. But it is an amazing dance, such a community. And I met Steve there once, and we just became good friends, and then eventually started dating.
All right. Fantastic. And talk about that as a form of self-expression.
I'll let him.
But
He's
I'll let-
actually really good. So I love dancing in like the crazy, woo, unorganized, non-technical, right? There's a spectrum of dance that goes from tap dancing and ballet that's extremely technical and very measured, and every muscle is exactly on point, all the way up to something called like static dance, right? Where it's like
Ecstatic dance.
ecstatic. Yeah. People just rolling around and just, there's no structure whatsoever. So Steve, talk about self-expression when it comes to like being more structured.
Yeah, I like to know where I'm going. Having too much possibility, like in movement, for example. Like if I just am thrust out on the dance floor with some random song that I've never heard, it's not to a beat that I've learned specific moves to, I lose a lot of my ability to self-express. But if I can go deep into something, that's when I feel comfortable. Like I have a structure to work with, and then
Okay.
I find freedom within that structure. Does that make sense?
That does. That makes total sense. Sort of parameters.
And I don't want any parameters. I just want to dance. I don't even need music. I just want to move. I don't even need space. Literally just any moment, I'll just be happy to dance. So Steve and I actually appreciate each other's differences because we both have the opposite view of dancing. Although he's made me a much better dancer, and I don't know, have I made you a better dancer?
I wouldn't say she's made maybe she made me a better dancer. She's made me a more more free dancer and more open. Like I can get too tied into the technicalities, and that helps me realize that in the end, what are we doing all this dancing or anything for anyway in the long run? Like we might as well just have fun right now.
Yeah. Now, as you've danced over the years, Steve, have your parameters or structure maybe expanded? And then maybe Bett has gotten more disciplined? Has that happened as the two of you have danced together? Or
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I would say I think we're still both pretty much in our own ways. Like I think we learn to appreciate each other better and be more accepting. So I accept if Bett doesn't want to learn this specific step or way of dancing. And I don't know, Bett, do you accept when I want to do something specific?
I would like to bring up a fact that the jury must have in front of them, is that I actually took tap dancing for 3 months in Berkeley. What is the place called? Step
The
Up.
Beat.
The Beat.
The Beat.
The Beat. So if anyone's a big fan down there in
Yeah, it's
Berkeley,
a great place.
is
Greg
a-
teaches.
very rigorous. And I felt like it really did level up my dance skill. Now, is that something I would choose to do on purpose? Probably not. But I think this is the thing, we both have such opposite ways of viewing self-expression, and that's why our relationship really works very well.
I like the fact, I like the term Steve used, accepting, where, all right, we work well together. As long as we accept the way we do it, we're going to create something beautiful when we dance. So that makes sense to me. Now, I'm also told that Steve could do a good job explaining the difference between folk and jazz music and how they differ from classical music or classical violin.
Well, I'll give you a brief exposition of what happened to me in one of my most pivotal moments of my musical journey. Is I had only ever read music off of a sheet until I was like 21 or 22. And then I was into swing dancing, and that is very free and improvisational, just like jazz. And some of my friends in the swing dancing community were also musicians, and they finally convinced me to go to a jam. And I'd never been to a jam. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what improvisation was. So I thought playing music is just playing what's the notes that are written on the sheet music. And I went to that jam, and I was absolutely horrible, and I sucked, but I had so much fun. And it was, maybe this kind of ties back to, like, it helped me get out of the structure. But even more than getting out of the structure, I think it made me realize that I needed to have other humans, because I tend to be a loner introvert, and I'm happy to just sit in my room and practice music for hours, whatever I'm doing, just practice on my own. And I can get stuck in that loop. And I think going out and doing jazz and folk music, playing with other people and having that communication, which you can have in classical music, but it's a lot harder to get, and it's at a much higher level. And you're not really going to perform classical music unless you're at, like, the really top, highest professional level. Whereas with jazz and folk and traditional music, you can just pick up your instrument and go to a jam and play with people and have that human interaction. And I think that's what's really important to personal expression. And I found more freedom through improvisation in jazz and traditional music, but I think I still just found a new structure. Now I can get good at this structure and then find what I want to do in that structure. But now I have the connection of doing stuff more with other people.
All right.
Why don't you talk about folk a little bit? So how does folk?
Traditional music.
Okay,
yeah.
Got it.
Traditional jazz. Yeah.
All right. And so I'm going to think for a second here. So basically that helped you expand everything and then bring it into another structure.
Yeah, I don't think it was that I found freedom in not having to read music off of a sheet, but I found a new thing to get really into, but I could do it with other people more easily.
So
okay.
Steve, I'm going to tell you something that he's not going to tell you, because he's very, very modest. When I first met Steve, he was a terrible violinist, by the way. It's really, really terrible. And now he can sit down with someone who wrote their own song. It could be their own song. It could be a traditional song. It could be a famous song, whatever it is. He may never have heard the song. He can listen to it, even just a few chords of it, and start playing along with it, do a fully improvised part on his own somewhere if the person gives him space to do it, and just play along just like that. And I think that's extremely incredible. I don't know that many people that can do that. So he's not going to tell you that because he's too modest, but he's come a long way since I met him.
That's fantastic. So congratulations. And it sounds like a passion for you. And I can't imagine doing that, just listening to it and then picking it up and being able to recreate it. So that's amazing. So this one's for Bett. You talked about the videos you did, 98 days on yoga. You've done videos on yoga, mindfulness, leadership, running good meetings. How do all of those tie together for you?
Okay, my question that I have is, how do we live sustainably? Okay, that's my big question. And people are like, oh, you're talking about green energy. I'm talking about everything. If you burn out because you're going to bad meetings every day, you're going to not live sustainably. You're going to burn out. I think burnout is one of the biggest problems we have nowadays. And that's what I think about as a leader, is how do I make sure my team is running gracefully, as I call it, without burning out? And so leadership is all about getting teams together, energizing people, helping people grow. So that's how you make sure they're not burning out, is because they feel they're moving forward and they're doing something they love doing. And then yoga. I mean, yoga is helping you be strong and physically fit, which helps you have more resilience so you don't burn out. You can live sustainably. And then mindfulness, there is so much research right now on mindfulness that just having a mindfulness practice is going to help you lower your stress, have less heart disease, diabetes, like almost every kind of metric you can look at, mindfulness helps. So all of these things are completely contained in the same bubble for me about how do we live sustainably.
So living sustainably and doing what we can to avoid the burnout. And I've had that happen to me before, so I understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, I had the same thing happen. Like an abandonment right now, when having issues like burning out because we need to each feel like we're doing something that we're improving on. And I love what Bett's saying, that if you have people who feel like they're growing, they're going to maintain interest and not burn out. But if you feel like you're just having to slave away, like that's a really important thing to remember, I think.
Right.
Yeah. And I think I like to play on the word, like, how do you live sustainably? It's like a play on how do I internally not burn out or get to some disease or, managing inflammation or whatever you want to measure, right? So personal sustainability and also global sustainability, because when you think about, if you're meditating daily or doing yoga daily, you're probably not going to dump oil on the ground. You're going to be like, hey, I should probably recycle this oil. So you start taking care of the planet more and you take care of your fellow human more. And you're just like, oh, I noticed my neighbor was sad. I'm going to go ask if I can make them coffee, right? Mm-hmm. So you become more sensitive, you become a better person all around. So sustainably is like fully 360 universal.
So we all benefit, we all grow.
We all benefit, we all grow.
All right, okay. Now, during the pandemic, we found out about so many different platforms, whether it's Zoom, whether it's different software we can use to express ourselves. What have you learned over the course of all this with different platforms and different ways to get your message out? And this one's for both of you.
You're the platform expert. Go first.
All right. I have been doing yoga on Zoom for a year and a half or however long it's been. And I would have thought that would be the worst thing ever, but actually it's fantastic because I'm late for everything. It's probably, Steve, both of you probably know, I am not good at timeliness. So for me to be able to roll out of bed and just jump on a Zoom meeting, don't turn on the video if my hair is all messed up, that is the best day ever. So Zoom has been great for me as a communication platform. We've run amazing events on Zoom. I actually just joined, it's just like 7 months ago, I joined a global group that talks about world problems, and I can participate in the meetings on Zoom. And I would never be having like coffee with someone from Egypt talking about Myanmar's civil war unless I had Zoom, right? So it's really, really, I think, an impactful company, I guess. And I hate to use the word Zoom, but really, we just all know Zoom is actually
just like
the
you
best.
Google it, you Zoom with people.
Zoom is really it's just better than all the rest of them. So that's been really good. I feel like I've also learned that I can do a lot more asynchronous work, meaning it doesn't have to be real time, right? I can use a document, write up a lot of things, put the specific questions, and then send it over to my coworker. They can then edit it and send it back. We can get a lot more stuff done without having to actually be on a meeting, which is sort of the impetus for my meeting blog, which is like, why do we have meetings? And I could talk about that more some other time, but
okay.
Steve, what about you, platforms?
I love meetings. Well, this is something I could maybe an idea I'd be interested in both of your feedback on. When I started my business, when I graduated my Alexander Technique training school, 2 years ago, my first thought was I have to make a website, because I thought that's what everybody does, is they make a website. And I made a website and I made business cards. But you have to have a website, you have to have business cards.
And a briefcase.
I didn't have a briefcase, but I did have a massage table in a bag that I would carry around. But I was marketing myself. I was giving my business cards out, and I was making some headway, and I was getting things slowly going. And then the pandemic happened and shut everything down, kind of restarted everything. But as I'm starting over with marketing and trying to build my business again, I'm having a realization that I think websites and business cards might be a thing of the early 2000s. And as we get into the 2020s, I feel like they might be starting to be less important. And my latest thought, which I haven't done a whole lot of actually using yet, but I feel like I hear about this and I'm really going to start trying to use it myself, is Instagram, because you can actually keep posting what you're doing throughout the day. So for example, if my band, we just started an Instagram page and we're going to post videos of our practices or little pictures of what we're doing, and then also get engagement, and then you can have followers. That could be the business card, and that's more interesting and engaging than just handing someone your business card. So this is something I'm kind of thinking about for platforms. What do you think about that?
I totally agree with you on the business cards. Back in the day, I would carry around a binder that would have like 100 business cards in it. And there are just, there was no Zoom, there was no YouTube, there was no Instagram, there was no anything. But you're absolutely right. More people are getting the word out on their Instagram or on their YouTube than on anything else right now. And all the information is right there on the page. So it's easy to find, it's easy to update, and it's the most efficient way to do it. So I agree with you 100%. I could probably get a lot better at it
Yeah, me
than
too.
I am now. So, but
I think
another way to grow.
The fascinating thing right now is that I think we're at the turning point, because if people, I have a lot of friends who are graduating from the school or doing different businesses, and they all think, okay, we have to do a website. But I think maybe in like 5 years, that might change. But it really feels like we're at a turning point where everyone knows that Instagram and YouTube and these social media platforms are the way to go. And yet we still think to be official, we need to have a website and business cards and all that kind of stuff.
So you're saying Instagram could even replace a website? That's interesting.
I think it could because people want to see engagement. I can't tell you how many blogs or websites I go onto where people aren't keeping up, or you see they have 3 blog posts from 2 years ago where they started a blog and then gave up on it. But with Instagram, it's an easy way to keep up to date, and you just have one place, and then people can see that you're still active, that you're still engaging. And I think and this is again something I need to test out and actually use for myself, but I want to go down this route, and I think that it might be where we go in the future.
All right, we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
I mean, I'm learning about all of those right now, and I think you're doing the same thing. Last year, I didn't know anything about YouTube, and I've gotten better at that. I'm a work in progress on Instagram, and probably by next year I'll be better at that. But it's all a work in process, and we just keep growing. We keep growing. So our connection, the 3 of us are all connected by Toastmasters. We've all been leaders in the district, and we've all met a lot of really smart people. Many of them are deathly afraid to speak up, to express themselves. What do you tell somebody who is really intelligent, has a lot of ideas, but they're afraid to take the leap and really express themselves? And I think you both could help answer this one.
I'll let Steve go first.
What do you tell somebody who's afraid to express themselves? I think what I would encourage people to do is to do more self-analysis and meditation and analyze their own lives. Because I think as I've become happier with my day-to-day routines, I used to go to bed every night and think about the day and think, wow, I wasted today. Tomorrow, I'm going to actually do what I want to do. And that was the fear I lived in. I wasn't able to express myself because I wasn't living in harmony with how I viewed myself as I should. And in the last year or two, I've totally stopped having that feeling at nighttime of, wow, I should do better tomorrow. I hate what I did today. And I think it's given me a lot more freedom to express myself. So I think if people are having fear expressing themselves, and do some self-analysis, do some meditation, and see, are you living in integrity with your life so that you would feel comfortable bearing your life to another person?
Wow, that was extremely deep. I will go a different tactic to be a little bit less deep than that one. And I have mentored many people joining Toastmasters, and also just encouraged people to join. And I've seen a pattern of people who don't join and people who join and don't ever do their first speech is they just have this block that says, oh, I have to be perfect before. I remember this time, this guy came to our Toastmasters club, and then he came back 3 months later, and I said, what happened? Meanwhile, his coworker who came with him at the same time was the president of the club by the time 3 months later when he came back. He's like, oh, I decided to go home and practice speaking before I joined the club because I wanted to be better before I got here. And I think this is the thing that people have in their mind. It's like, I need to be better before I start. And just like you're saying, it's a work in progress. All of us are playing with these digital tools. Everyone's just making up as we go. You got to just try it. And it's everyone's got their own voice. You don't want to be someone else. You need to be yourself. So I think that's the other thing is like, they're comparing themselves to someone who's, what's that very famous motivational speaker, Tony
Robbins.
Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
They're like, well, I'm not Tony Robbins, so I'm just going to stay in my quiet little place. But no one needs another Tony Robbins. We need whoever it is to speak up and make a difference.
We need other people.
Yeah.
Right.
So I would just say, stop making excuses and just do it already.
So that's just do it already. Jump out of that comfort zone.
That's right. That's right.
So, all right. Well, this has been fun. What's next on both of your bucket lists?
Okay. Well, I have been thinking about this sustainability thing. And I am thinking, I'm a cloud expert. Okay. And people are probably like, oh, like you're a weather observer? No, the digital cloud. And so I'm thinking a lot about digital waste. And I'm not talking about TVs and iPhones that are no longer used. I'm talking about the digital footprint that we're leaving on our planet. And I'm just trying to think of how to communicate this, because when I was at my last job and this current job, both of them, I'm basically trying to help figure out how to save money, which is the same thing as reducing our usage of compute resources. My husband always tells me I'm geeking out too much, but I'm really thinking about how to communicate that this is a thing, which I don't think anyone knows about right now. And then after I figure out how to communicate it, maybe I could be like have an Instagram just for that. That's kind of like what I'm thinking about right now.
Okay.
You, Steve?
I am working on a new band and getting regular gigs again, and restarting my Alexander Technique business. And so what I want to work on is being more forward-facing and more collaborative with other people, and learning how to connect and get in touch with people and be more and more social. So that's my future that I'm working on right now.
All right. Terrific. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's
Steve.
been so fun. Thank you, Steve.
This was really
It's
fun.
been a lot of fun for me too. So, Bett, if somebody wanted to contact you and talk with you about speaking to their group or anything else you do professionally, what would be the best way to go about it?
BETTWORLD@gmail is my email. Or you can do that same Bett World at Instagram, or just go to Instagram and search for that. You could probably put Bett Bohlhofer in LinkedIn and find me. And my website is bettbohlhofer.com.
All right. Terrific. And
And
Steve,
Steve?
can you tell us about the Alexander Technique?
The Alexander Technique helps you if you are having habitual chronic tensions or pains, back pain, neck pain, or associated with some activity. It helped me get over excruciating constant shoulder pain from playing violin. And if you're interested in learning more, you can go to stevebohlhofer.com. Or if you want to learn more about just the Alexander Technique, you can go to amsatonline.org. And also you can follow the band that we started recently, me and my good friend, Zach, Oarsman Band on Instagram.
All right. Fantastic. I will put that in the show notes so everybody can find it. And thanks again for being on the show. This has been a good time.
Thanks, Steve, for having us.
Thanks, Steve.
You're welcome. And to all of you that are watching and listening, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate having you. If you would like to hear more about what we do, please go to productivediscourse.home.blog. That's where you can find information about what we do and how you can contact me if you'd like me to speak at your service club, community organization, religious group, or your Toastmasters club. Our next show is going to be next week. We'll talk again about the old golden age of self-expression. But in the meantime, please like, share, comment, and subscribe so this message can go far and wide, and we'll find that shining needle of common ground in that haystack of fear.